We're starting a new chapter, chapter 14, called Am I Dying? I woke up Sunday morning with Star's words roaming around my mind. Footprints never lie. Poor Dale. Tap, tap, tap. Soldier? Colonel? I sat up wide awake. He opened the door and peeped in. Breakfast in 20 minutes. Look sharp. Church at 1100 hours. I want to be there at 10:30 hours at the latest. Did he say us? The Colonel's going to church? The hair on my arm stood up. The Colonel never goes to church, preferring the natural cathedral of ocean and mountain and sky. I shot into the living room. You're going to church, sir? Are we at war? Is Miss Lana sick? Am I dying? At ease, soldier. He sat back on the settee, buffing his black shoes to a high sheen. He held them to the light, lowered them, and gave them another swipe. Today's the first Sunday after the church break-in. Lana and I thought we'd support the community. My panic fell away. Support Miss Rose and Dale, you mean? As you wish, he said. He put a square of newspaper on the floor and placed his shoes on Caper's last article. He headed for Miss Lana's door, the threadbare plaid bathrobe I gave him years ago swinging on his spare frame. He tapped. Lana, he called. Georgian toast or omelet? Georgian toast, honey. And thank you, she called. Honey? She stumbled into the living room and collapsed on the settee, her curlers hidden beneath her scarf. Everybody in town will come to church today for one reason or another. She sighed. Poor Rose. I do wish Macon had robbed the Episcopalians instead. She shook her head. That didn't come out right, sugar. I need coffee. On it, I said. I sniffed the air. Coffee. I followed the scent into our own personal kitchen and snagged a mug the Colonel had liberated from the Guatemala City Ritz. Or the Fayetteville Flea Market, I'm not sure which. I filled it, loving the smell of our own personal coffee and our own private bacon in our own actual home. What's that? I asked, glancing at an odd-shaped package on the counter, an awkward pileup of brown wrapping paper and masking tape. Strictly need to know, the Colonel said, whisking it under the counter. A quick smile softened his whiskery face as he turned the bacon. Always remember, soldier, there's more than one way to settle a score. We rolled into the church parking lot right on schedule. There's Dale, I said as the Colonel rocked the Underbird into park. I scooted for the door. Don't forget this, I said, grabbing the odd package off the floorboard. Put that down, sugar, Miss Lana said. Dale's coming. Dale's coming, so what? Dale ran toward us, Queen Elizabeth waddling furiously behind. When's Queen Elizabeth going to have those puppies? Miss Lana asked. She looks ready to pop. Hey, Dale said, opening my door. He saw the Colonel and froze. What's the Colonel doing here? Did somebody die? Can't he come to church? Miss Lana teased, rising from the car like royalty. She cupped Dale's face in her hand. You're so handsome. Are you singing a solo? Dale shook his head. Me and Liz are a congregation today. But Mama's playing. Wonderful, she said, and she and the Colonel sailed in toward Miss Rose like boats across smiling waters. They looked good, I thought. The Colonel in his dress blues, Miss Lana in her 1940s suit and seamed stockings. Miss Rose opened her arms to them like she hadn't seen them in forever. Attila brushed by. Dale, Mother says tell Miss Rose to cancel our Thanksgiving order. She's buying our greens in Kingston. It's not because your daddy robbed us. Miss Rose's produce simply isn't up to our standards. By the way, she continued, I hear Reverend Thompson's preaching on the 8th commandment today in honor of your family. When it comes to church, Dale's an A+ student. I ain't. The 8th commandment? I whispered. Attila shot me a look that would incinerate a sparrow in full flight. Thou shalt not steal, moron. Dale stuck his hands in his pockets. I like the next one, too. When you don't lie about your neighbors. She sashayed away. as a camo pickup rattled into the lot. "No way," Dale breathed as Mr. Red hopped out, smoothing his gray suit. The Colonel and Mr. Red? In the same church? With neither of them in a takeout box? "Yep, not a coffin in sight," Harm said, swaggering over. "Eerie, isn't it?" Mr. Red reached out to shake Dale's hands. "Morning, Dale." "Hey, Mr. Red," Dale said. "Thank you for coming. It means a lot to me." "Proud to be here," he said, watching the azalea women clot by the front door. "People talk, Dale, but that doesn't mean your friends are listening. Stand tall. Your true friends will stand with you." He winked at Dale. "Excuse me, son. Lacey Thornton's looking my way," he said, and hurried away. We strolled across the parking lot, neighbors and strangers milling around us. "There's Lavender," I said, and darted to his side. "My favorite pit crew," Lavender said, adjusting his tie. "I hoped you three could help us test 32 at the Carolina Raceway today," he said, and we bobbed our heads like a tree of yo-yos. "You'll ride in the lowboy with Sam," he told Harm as Caper strolled by. "Mo, you're with Dale and me. We leave at 2. "Outstanding," Harm said, as Lavender veered toward a twin. "Come on, I want a good seat. I've never heard Miss Rose play, and I want her to see us listening." Dale frowned. "See us listening? Why?" "Because," Harm said, "mothers like that." As the church filled, Miss Rose played proud as an angel, straight-backed and sure, her fingers coaxing hymn after hymn from the old piano. Hannah and little Agnes went up to light the candles. Thess scooted in behind us and leaned forward to whisper, "With no collection plate, Dad's passing his fishing hat today, the one with the hooks dangling off it." Dale and Harm didn't turn around. I did. It's hard to make nice and defend your people at the same time. I looked into Thess's eyes, willing every ounce of me into a "don't mess with us" stare. "There ain't no weather in heaven," I whispered. "Good luck." Thess gasped. "Very mature, Lobo," Harm whispered, but I could hear his grin. "Where's the Colonel?" Dale asked, reaching down to rub Queen Elizabeth's ears. She sat with her legs jutting at an odd angle to accommodate her round belly. "The Colonel brought us here and then went AWOL?" I peered down the row. Miss Lana sat with her hands folded in her lap, her hat's half veil draping her eyes. I cranked around to take a quick look upstream mother scan as I searched for the Colonel. "Eyes forward," the Colonel whispered, sliding in from the other end of the pew. "Busted," Dale snickered as Miss Rose pounded an intro on the little piano. We rose and hurled ourselves into "I'll Fly Away." I almost felt like I could fly too, the many voices bouncing off the walls and coming back to lift me up. I sang between Dale and Harm, riding their magic carpet of song. Underneath pulsed the Colonel's bullfrog tune and Miss Lana's reedy melody. 2 hymns later, Reverend Thompson launched into his scripture readings. Not on "Thou shalt not steal," as Attila had predicted, but on forgiveness. "Here we go," Harm whispered. "It's past the fishing hat time." Miss Rose tilted her head a smidge higher. Dale did too. Reverend Thompson looked at us. "You never know what's good and what's bad as it happens," he said. "A break-in at our church can turn into something wonderful, like a packed house on Sunday. Thank you for your love and support." The congregation rustled. "And you'll never guess what I found in my office today. An anonymous gift." He reached beneath the pulpit and lifted up a shiny new collection plate. Dale gasped. A crumple of brown wrapping paper and masking tape fell to the floor. Reverend Thompson started the plate around and said what he always says, "Put something in it if you have it. If you need it, please take something out." I looked at the Colonel. He stared straight ahead. So did Miss Lana. This is what we do in our family, I thought. I squared my shoulders and I stared straight ahead, my heart soaring. Sunday morning brought a truce, but it was short-lived. In fact, the afternoon hit the desperados like a 1-2 punch, leaving us reeling. Lavender cruised into the cafe parking lot at 2 and tooted the truck's horn. "Gotta go," I bellowed, grabbing my camera. "Back before dark," the Colonel said as I pounded out the door. I dove in, crawling over Dale and Queen Elizabeth to sit by Lavender. He wore his ripped jeans and scuffed cowboy boots. If there's a sweeter hour than the one it takes to rumble to the Carolina Raceway with Lavender, I ain't found it. I also ain't looking for it. "We have the track to ourselves today," Lavender said as we chugged through the chain-link fence. "I want to wind her out for a few laps, see what we've got." He headed for the infield where Sam was already backing the 32 car off the lowboy. She wore new tires all around and a pox of pale body putty. "I wish you'd paint that car," Dale said. "She's embarrassing." "Will do," Lavender said as Sam tossed his race suit to him. "Wear this just in case of fire," Sam said. "You never know." Lavender stepped into the suit, wriggling it up over his hips and shrugging it across his shoulders. I lined up my shot as Harm slung the battered toolbox onto the pickup's tailgate. "Hold it," I said. Lavender smiled. "Perfect." Click, click, click. "I'll go easy the first couple of laps and then wind her out," Lavender said, and swung in through the driver's window. "Can't wait to see how she runs." The new 32 roared to life. He clamped on his helmet and fishtailed to the track. "She sounds great," Dale said, springing onto the tailgate between Harm and me. Lavender put his foot into the second lap, the engine roaring on the straightaway and whining in the turns. Sam closed his eyes and listened like a musician tuning a fiddle. "She already sounds better than any car we've ever had. We'll be ready for Flick in 2 weeks if he wants to talk about Macon. Keeps driving our business away." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "People are bailing on Lavender like he's the Titanic. $1,000 prize money will definitely help out until our business comes back." He gave me a smile. "Mo, see if you can find a stopwatch. Let's time these laps." I popped the battered toolbox open. A folded square of pale blue paper stared up from the jumble of wrenches and screwdrivers. I unfolded it. "Right front tire slit?" "What's this?" I looked into Sam's shocked face. "Don't know and not taking chances," he said. He spun to the track. "Stop!" he shouted, waving his arms. He charged toward the edge of the track, the 3 of us on his heels. "Lavender, stop!" Too late. The right front tire exploded in a cloud of smoke, spinning the car up the track toward the wall. "Turn!" I screamed like Lavender could hear me. "Turn!" The car veered like it had been hooked and wobbled onto the infield. Lavender's hands shook as he read the note. Who wrote this? Harm quickly slid beneath the car. "It's slit all right," he said. Lavender crouched by the tire and ran his hands along the inside wall. "Here," Harm said. "Son of a gun," Lavender muttered as Harm hopped up. Sam glared at Harm. "Who would be mean enough to do that?" "Don't you look at Harm in that tone of voice," I said. Sam slapped his cap against his legs. "Why not? What did you tell me Flick said when he busted in the garage? Paint it the color of a dead man's car?" "Flick wouldn't do this," Harm said. "He wants to beat Lavender. He wants Lavender's $1,000. "Maybe he's more worried about losing his own money," Sam said, his face going red. He stepped toward Harm. "Calm down, Sam," Lavender said, looking up from the note. "Anybody recognize this handwriting?" Dale shook his head. "It's not Daddy's. Mo saw somebody outside the garage, There's strangers in town, and you've been in the papers. Could be anybody. Lavender slipped the note into his pocket. The tire feels sliced, but we won't know for sure till we pull it and take a look. I'll get the jacks, Harm said, heading for the lowboy. Stay away from that car, Sam snapped. I trust Harm, Lavender said, his voice easy. He popped the car's hood and leaned in. He exhaled long and even, the way old men exhale cigar smoke. Not that Lavender will ever smoke. He slammed the hood. Let's get out of here till we know what's going on. Whoever slit that tire could have done way worse, too. I turned to case the stands one last time. The afternoon shadows slashed deep and along the inside wall. Here, Harm said. Son of a gun, Lavender muttered as Harm hopped up. Sam glared at Harm. I turned to case the stands one last time. The afternoon shadows slashed deep and sharp across the empty stadium. My pulse jumped. What was that? The pines swayed behind the chain-link fence. A swirl of red leaves tumbled behind the stands. Just my nerves, I thought. Lavender, Harm said. If that tire's been slit, we need to bag it for evidence, I said, because somebody's trying to kill you. The slit tire knocked the wind out of us. The second half of the 1-2 punch landed on our way back home, and it landed hard. The sunset flowed orange in the rearview mirror as the raceway faded behind us. Don't worry, Lavender, I said. Desperado detectives will sort this out. He tapped his fingers on the steering wheel. Thanks, Mo. But I don't want my favorite sixth graders mixed up in this. We can handle ourselves, I told him. Mo and Harm can, Dale added, smoothing Liz's ears. I still need help. You do fine, Dale, Lavender said, turning on the radio. The announcer's voice blasted into the cab. Now for stupid crimes, the announcer said. A man robbed the First Carolina Bank at the Tarboro Mall yesterday, shot at the security guard, and dropped his wallet. The wallet ID says Macon Johnson. Daddy? Dale cried as Lavender swerved off the road and bounced back on. We stared at the radio like it might change its mind. Daddy would never take a wallet to a crime, Dale said. This isn't fair. Dale kills me. Mr. Macon ain't been fair to anybody for as long as I've known him. Lavender clamped his jaw so tight the muscles stood out like rope. I sat still and quiet as the glass in the windshield all the way home. And that's the end of chapter 14.